Red Dead is dead. Or at least that's what every YouTuber would have you believe. But if we were to look at the numbers, we would find that Red Dead Online pulls over 2,000 players a month. Though that's misleading, as the numbers shown are only for the standalone version, which came out in December of 2020. However, given that roughly 75% of players played through the full game release back in 2018, it means we can now divide those 2,000 players by 17% to find out what 1% equals. It comes around to 0.127. Now that we have that 1%, we can multiply it by 75% to find out how many players play through the full game, which comes out to about just over 9,500 players. Given that Red Dead Redemption 2 pulls over 29,000 players, I'd say we're right on the money. In combination on PC alone, Red Dead Online pulls over 11,500 players. Of course, that is roughly speaking, there's no exact figures given to us by Rockstar, but given that the gaming world is filled with train wreck live service games that struggle to pull even a few hundred players, it is strange why a game with such a strong player base would be considered dead. Though, if we want to find that out, all we have to do is travel back to the beginning of Red Dead's online adventure. In November 27, 2018, Red Dead Online's beta would debut, and it would face almost instant controversy. The only content the game had available for players at the time were free roam missions and PvP showdowns. However, it's not so much the missions themselves that were problematic, but more so their payouts. Most showdowns and missions would reward players between 0.01 and 0.02 gold, as well as $3 to $5. Now, when a single Mauser pistol costs $1,000 and the Lancaster repeater is $405, you can see how these types of payouts can cause quite a bit of a problem when it comes to the economy. Players were pissed, but Rockstar was quick to respond, nerfing weapon prices, increasing payouts, and refunding money to those who had already bought them. However, despite these changes, content was still very minimum, and because all players were visible, it encouraged griefers to create posses and continuously hunt down players on the map. It's fair to say that the game was in a very raw state, though that would all change come September 10th, 2019, as Rockstar would launch their biggest update to date, Frontier Pursuits. They would add distinctive roles such as bounty hunting, allowing you to chase down and capture elusive targets, bring them in for a reward, as well as the trader role, which would have you hunt down animals for their carcasses and skins, processing them and selling them for big cash margins. And for the explorers out there was also the collector role, allowing players to find different treasures, lost jewelry, playing cards, arrowheads, and much more. It brought tons of new content to the game for players to enjoy, and with them hiding faraway players to prevent griefing and speeding up looting and weapon animations, Red Dead Online was starting to take a very positive direction. But they weren't done yet. Only a few months later, in December 13, the same year, they would also add the Moonshiner role. It would allow players to buy a shack and create moonshine with different flavors and strengths. Creating moonshine would be significantly faster than trader goods, and you could sell them in delivery missions for a healthy profit. It also added a new free roam encounter and a brand new cinematic story centered around it. 2019 was a massive year for Red Dead Online, though it wasn't looking so rosy on the other side. In GTA Online, Rockstar had obviously pulled back their resources. While Red Dead Online received 4 distinctive roles and many quality of life updates, GTA Online would receive the Arena War, a DLC where you have to buy a workshop to customize vehicles and fight to survive in the Maze Bank arena. To this day, it's one of the most overwhelmingly hated DLCs ever made, and for good reason. The payment is horrible, the grind is never ending, and everything is extremely expensive. It's very clear that it was just slapped together to be better than nothing, and players weren't happy. It would be followed by the Casino Heist DLC in both summer and winter of 2019. It was split in two releases. First, players unlocked 5 story missions in the summer, and then the actual heist itself came in the winter. By the end of 2019, a lot of people understood that Grand Theft Auto was no longer the priority. Red Dead Online was brand new, and Rockstar needed to put as many resources into it as they could in order to make it a success. And although supporting 2 titles at the same time, while working on a third one in the background wasn't easy, they had no other choice. Though that would change, as they, as well as the rest of the world, would be completely devastated as soon as 2020 rolled around.
Chinese health authorities are still working to identify the virus behind a pneumonia outbreak in the central city of Wuhan.
At least 59 people are believed to have been sickened by the new virus.
Tonight, U.S. airports on high alert, screening passengers for symptoms of a deadly new virus.
We have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has officially called it COVID-19. Co for corona, Vi for virus, D for disease, and 19 because it started last year.
The COVID pandemic threw a massive wrench into everybody's plans. The first half of the year especially was complete chaos, resulting in studios having to adjust to working from home to create content. It was also a major issue when it came to financing, as now companies couldn't just fire everybody like Vince McMahon did, and instead had to pay just as much, if not more money, for less content, as people adjusted to their new environments. However, unlike other developers who were openly talking to fans about the future of their games, Rockstar remained completely silent, putting the future of Red Dead Online into a big question mark. After months passed with no news or communication about future updates, players decided to take matters into their own hands, starting the clown movement as a way to show their displeasure with Rockstar's lack of communication. As to how that came to be, let's hear it directly from the source.
It was like basically a person who still believes that Red Dead Online will receive some proper update, will receive some proper content, is basically a clown. We made a full lobby of clowns. I don't know, back then it was 32 people in a lobby, and everyone was dressed as a clown. We were just hanging around, and it just was a part of this protest, if you want. And it became kind of viral because all big gaming media websites made an article about it. They announced that there will be a summer update in Red Dead Online and, some details.
Players would finally get an answer on the 28th of July 2020. Red Dead Online would receive its 5th role called the Naturalist. The role was about finding different animals in the game, sedating them, and taking samples which you can then sell at Harriet's shop. Once you've taken all samples from a certain group of species, you could sell that album for a bigger price. It also added legendary animals that were significantly harder to sedate or kill for that matter. These animals could either be sedated for Harriet or killed and turned into fancy coats. Alternatively, many people also use them for their trader business. Though it certainly sounds like an interesting and inspired role, it had a lot of flaws in its design. If you were to kill any animal, even by accident with your horse, Harriet would spray you and you'd be locked out of interacting with her for the next 5 minutes. But above anything else, if you ask any actual player, they'll all tell you that this is their personally least favorite role. Red Dead Online is an open world crime game above anything else. People wanted to play different heists and truly feel like an outlaw from the 1800s. Running around trees sedating animals really didn't fit that vision.
The problem is, they gave players not something that anybody was asking for. Like, instead of giving us ability to rob trains and banks and, maybe even make some property and so on, buy some property and so on, what Rockstar gives us some really weird role that no one cares about, no one wants to see, and it looks really weird. And that's why Naturalist update was received very, very poorly.
He's not wrong. If you were to buy a racing game, you'd expect to be able to race. And in the same vein, if you were to buy a game about outlaws in the 1800s, you'd expect to perform outlaw activities like robbing banks, trains, carriages, and all types of things. And although me and Kat both agree that the Naturalist is not a bad update by any means, clearly a lot of effort and resources were put into it, it's the type of update you should add when you're 5 years deep into the game's cycle and are looking for something else to do after you've already had a bunch of heists and high quality content established. But starting year 2 with it, while all those things players are asking for are still missing, that was a bad call. And the Steam numbers clearly show that. It brought along about a couple thousand players, and in 2 months it was right back to where it started. On the other side, Grand Theft Auto Online would release its summer update. It featured a couple of new business battles, race types, and adversary modes above anything else. It was a microscopical update, if that, and most players today don't even remember its existence. An update that actually did more harm than good, as the month it was released in August of 2020, it barely brought 5,000 players, and it was so underwhelming that it lost over 20,000 the following month and 1,000 more the next one. By this point, it had been a good couple of years where Grand Theft Auto Online had not really had anything to write home about, and with its latest update flopping to the ground, Grand Theft Auto players had lost hope. Meanwhile, Red Dead Online was looking rather good. I mean, sure, the Naturalist DLC wasn't everybody's idea for a perfect role, but it was at least something in comparison. The message was clear: Red Dead Online was the focal point, and Grand Theft Auto was taking a step back. Or so it seemed, until we got to the Winter Special. In the 1st of December 2020, Red Dead Online would receive yet another update. This time it was a bounty hunter upgrade. It brought new legendary bounties, new infamous bounties with stories behind them, as well as new ranks for the bounty hunter role to unlock new outfits and taunts. After the disappointment of the Naturalist update, players expected something big and were not happy at all with just a simple upgrade, especially when they compared it to that of Grand Theft Auto Online. On the 9th of December 2020, Rockstar would reveal the Cayo Perico update, the biggest update in Grand Theft Auto Online's history to this day. It added an entire island to the game, it introduced submarines and a brand new heist taking place on that same island. It was a huge, massive update that came completely out of left field. No one saw it coming, but boy were people happy. The game jumped from 73,000 players in November to 91,000 players in December, a massive increase, and it only went up in January. It was a huge success for Rockstar, and it brought a massive amount of people back into the game. Meanwhile, on Red Dead Online side, it did bring about 6,000 players back, but it was nothing compared to the 18,000 GTA brought back.
GTA Online received another heist, and a huge heist, and a pretty good one. I actually enjoyed playing it. While Red Dead Online still had no heists, no train and bank robberies. I might repeat these words a few times during this conversation, but it's literally what it's all about. Red Dead Online never received crucial gameplay mechanics. Like GTA Online, despite having already a lot of heists, receives another one, like a huge one, and Red Dead Online receives, well, not a bad update. I actually enjoyed this Bounty Hunters update, but still not something that players were asking for.
And Red Dead Online's players were very worried, as now their updates had only become smaller and GTA's had only become bigger. A shift in momentum, or so it seemed. No one would know for sure until the next summer update of 2021, but it's safe to say the overall feeling wasn't very good. But with no other options, players lied in wait for Rockstar's next move. And on the 7th of July 2021, Rockstar would take it, revealing an extremely promising trailer for a Blood Money DLC. At first glance, it looked like everything that players had been asking for. Finally, we get to play as outlaws, robbing trains, working with the Saint-Denis Mafia and retrieving valuable treasures. But it wasn't until the 13th of July that players would actually get their hands on the DLC, and when they did, well, let's just say it didn't go over well.
It was terrible, because as you said, the hype was real, and some people blame, players that they were overhyping, but Rockstar literally promised high-stakes robberies. I'm quoting now, high-stakes robberies. And for the article in which they were kind of teasing this Blood Money update, they used a picture where a bandit is apparently on a moving train. So, like, what should have we been thinking about, like, when we saw this? Obviously, everyone was hyped.
The much anticipated DLC turned out to be nothing more than a rework of the Stranger missions from 2018. We could now do new scenarios where we can find different capitale laying around. Capitale was a value that can be used to start one of 3 missions, all involving a certain treasure that we needed to retrieve. The missions were very basic and underwhelming. There was only a single cutscene in the whole update, and that was the actual opening one. It was an update far smaller than anticipated, and after the disappointment of the last few updates, players were pissed.
The system that Rockstar made for them makes no sense, because first of all, payout is no different from missions that we already had in Red Dead Online, missions like legendary bounty missions, so just a basic payout. And second problem with these missions is that you get this capitale and you use it to start these opportunity missions. You basically have to pay for a mobster for an opportunity to steal something valuable for a small reward. It made no sense. It was not what players were looking for, not what players were expected to see, and that's basically was not received very well again.
Meanwhile, over at Grand Theft Auto Online, we would be introduced to the Tuners DLC. Adding an LS car meet, it allowed players to tune new cars as well as test drive them. There were tons of street races added, but also we would be introduced to brand new sets of characters through whom we could take part in small heists. It wasn't a crazy large update like the previous, but it did add a lot of new things. It freshened up the experience and gave players new types of missions and reasons to play. And although things looked bad for Red Dead Online, they would only get worse come the winter update. Later that year, on December 15, Rockstar would release another massive update for Grand Theft Auto Online, The Contract, with the returning story mode characters of both Franklin and Lamar, as well as Chop, as well as cameo appearances from Dr. Dre, a new business that allowed passive income based on completed missions, a cinematic story campaign for both the online players in the Dr. Dre campaign, as well as co-op missions for Franklin and Lamar. It featured brand new offices and introduced hitman missions with a fair amount of new vehicles. It was possibly the second biggest update of all time, right after Cayo Perico the year prior to it. In comparison, Red Dead Online would receive nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. It was a gigantic slap in the face, which was not taken lightly.
The reason Red Dead players are furious, and I think the vast majority will agree with me on this, is because GTA Online got another big update bringing in Franklin, and Red Dead Online got nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean actually nothing. So what, the game gets a few new call to arms maps, that's it? GTA Online is getting a new story DLC, a new business, new vehicles, new weapons. This is the first December that Red Dead Online has gotten nothing.
And although some had hope that maybe they'll receive something new come January 2022, they had no idea just how bad things can get. On the 6th of January 22, Rockstar would release a new monthly event. It was a simple bonus event for Land of Opportunity missions, call to arms, gang hideouts, and featured series. This monthly event started the biggest movement in Red Dead Online's history, that being Save Red Dead Online. Started by Benty on Twitter, the movement was supported by all major Red Dead YouTubers and quickly grew in size to the point when it gathered mainstream attention. Articles from Forbes, Kotaku, Screen Rant and IGN among others, all covering the story of Rockstar killing the best game they've ever made, some even reaching out to Rockstar themselves. However, fans would not receive any word back until May's Take-Two quarterly earnings call, where Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick affirmed he was aware of the community's frustration, but added that fans would need to look to Rockstar for a response. Rockstar Games talks about the updates that are coming, and we're working on an awful lot at Rockstar Games, he said. I've heard the frustration, it's flattering that they want more content, and more will be said by Rockstar in due time. This statement provoked mostly good reactions from the community, as they believed their voice had been heard, and soon they would receive the fruits of their labor. Sadly, only 2 months later, the opposite would occur. On July 7, 2022, Rockstar would release an official community update. Over the past few years, we have been steadily moving more development resources towards the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series, understanding more than ever the need to exceed players' expectations and for this next entry to be the best it can possibly be. And as a result, we are in the process of making some changes to how we support Red Dead Online. We plan to build upon existing modes and add new Telegram missions this year, rather than delivering major themed content updates like in previous years. The message was clear. Red Dead Online was finished, no more major updates or content. This was the official kill shot. There would be some small Telegram missions here and there, but this was very much the end of the story for Red Dead Online. However, it is not where we end the video, as there's still a couple more things that are worth discussing. What Red Dead Online actually meant to those who play it.
It's a shame that this game abandoned, because if you will ask any player about Red Dead Online, describe it in a few words, most players will say that it's a wasted potential. This game has so much potential, it still looks beautiful, it still has a really good game loop if you want, it's fun to ride and shoot and hunt and fight enemies and so on, but Rockstar never wanted to fulfill its potential, to reach the maximum that this game is capable of, and it's a shame, but sad story of Red Dead Online.
And I'll argue that actually abandoning Red Dead Online is the biggest mistake Rockstar has ever made. And you may say, well, actually, GTA Online is more profitable and there's more players playing it than RDO, so it makes sense for them to focus on it rather than Red Dead. But that's the problem, you're looking entirely at the short-term revenue. But in this case, losing money by focusing on Red Dead would have been the best decision they've ever made. Think about it. They've gone so far with Grand Theft Auto Online that there's practically nothing new they can add. All DLC, even the new ones, feel almost exactly the same. There's only so many mission types you can do in this 11-year-old GTA. In professional wrestling there's a saying, how can we miss you if you won't go away? It's a big reason why Payday 2, which has been supported for 10 years straight, is able to hold nearly 23,000 players, while Payday 3 is at 200 players. The same reason why the yearly releases for Assassin's Creed got cancelled, because it damn near killed the franchise. It's the same reason Fast and Furious has gone completely off the rails and it's actively losing interest. When you milk something to death, guess what, genius? It dies eventually. Yes, GTA Online may always have players, But what about GTA 6 Online? With its GTA Plus raising from $6 to $8 right now, it may be $20 by the time GTA 6 arrives, with the most insane, greedy and insulting microtransactions knocking on the door of GTA 6 Online. How many players will be willing to stomach them? I know right now everyone is losing their mind about GTA 6, but much like a dog chasing a car, have you ever actually considered what you'll do when you catch it? Guess what? The new car smell can go away rather quickly. Then what? What are Rockstar gonna add to GTA 6 Online that we haven't played for the last 11 years in GTA Online? Red Dead was the perfect chance to add train and carriage robberies, farms, horse trading, just to name a few. Things that would make no sense in Grand Theft Auto, but work perfectly here. It would have given them a chance to freshen things up, so when GTA 6 Online arrives, everything can feel new again. Instead now, as soon as you get used to the better graphics and slightly improved gameplay, you'll be right back to the old GTA Online formula, the same one that has been squeezed dry for over a decade. And guess what? RDO may not have any new content coming in, but as long as it has players like you and me riding through its landscape, it will never die. Until next time, this has been Wild Goat, and thank you all so very much for watching.